Senator Cruz, how are you, sir?
I'm doing fabulous.
Wonderful to see you. Wonderful. I want to talk about Benghazi.
Yeah.
So Benghazi is a local story here in San Diego. 4 Americans were killed. One of them was born here, down the street, and one lived in Encinitas and another in Imperial Beach. These are San Diegans. Do you think real accountability will ever be had for these San Diegans who were killed?
Yes. There needs to be accountability for Benghazi, and if I'm elected president, there will be accountability.
How so?
We will know exactly what went on. We will know why those Americans were put in a position where there wasn't adequate security to keep them in place. Ambassador Chris Stevens over and over again asked for more security. He recognized the terrorist threat, and yet the Obama administration wouldn't provide it. And we'll also know why it was that more assets weren't deployed during the course of that attack to protect those Americans. And if there was anything we could have done to save the lives of those 4 brave Americans, there will be accountability. We owe it to our fighting men and women, both our soldiers and sailors and airmen and Marines, but also those in the State Department and our diplomatic corps that are risking their lives every day. And the answer shouldn't be political lies from the Obama administration. It should be the truth about what happened.
There's grieving families right here in San Diego about still what happened in San Diego. What do you say to the moms and dads?
Look, we need to have truth and accountability. And we haven't had that for 7 years. That is going to change.
Another local issue, water. What are you going to do about the federal government in many cases here in California ordering the state to dump water into the ocean when we're in a so-called drought and water shortage?
It shows just how lunatic the far left agenda is. We should not be, millions of gallons of fresh water being dumped in the ocean because of environmental extremists who value a tiny little fish more than human beings. Listen, we can save species, we can actually expand species, have in place incentives to grow a species, but we shouldn't be throwing thousands of people out of work, throwing migrant farmers out of work, shutting down farmland and making it harder to provide for human beings because of a radical, extreme agenda. And one of the things I will do as president is we will rein in the EPA so that the EPA stops killing jobs. My number one priority as president is bringing back jobs and economic growth to America. We're going to see California is getting hammered by a bunch of knuckle-headed left-wing Democratic politicians here in California, giving you guys the highest tax rates in the country. But when I'm elected president, we're going to lift the burdens of Washington off California so we see small businesses growing and wages going up again.
If I am a Hillary Clinton supporter, how do you even begin to convince me that I should consider Ted Cruz for president?
Well, John Adams famously said, facts are stubborn things. Here are the facts. The Obama-Clinton agenda isn't working. Take their economic agenda. Hillary Clinton likes to talk about economic inequality. Economic inequality has increased dramatically under the Obama-Clinton agenda. The top 1%, the millionaires and billionaires who both Hillary and Obama love to demagogue, they earn a higher share of our income than any year since 1928. The rich, those who walk the corridors of power in the Obama administration, are getting fat and happy. But working men and women in this country are getting hammered. The people hurt the most are young people, our Hispanics, our African Americans, our single moms. We've got the lowest percentage of Americans working in any year since 1977, and median wages have stagnated for over a decade. The Obama-Clinton economy doesn't work. And if anything, the Obama-Clinton foreign policy is even worse. Every region on earth has gotten worse. We've abandoned our friends and allies. This administration is the most anti-Israel administration we have ever seen. And Obama and Clinton's appeasement and weakness towards radical Islamic terrorism, giving over $100 billion to the Ayatollah Khamenei, who chants death to America, it doesn't make any sense. We're going to win this general election by focusing on policies that work and policies that don't.
But it's time we had a woman president. Everything you just said, Senator, makes perfect sense, but we need a woman president. That's going to be their first mission.
You know what I care about? I care about seeing women live better lives. 3.7 million women have entered poverty under Barack Obama. The median income for women has dropped $733 under Barack Obama. Women are hurting under this economy. And Hillary Clinton would be a third term of Obama. I care about the millions of women. My family, we have a lot of single moms in my family. My sister was a single mom. Both of my aunts were a single mom. And for a period, my mom was a single mom. When I was a little boy, my dad left us Now, thankfully, he was invited to go to a church and he became a Christian and came back and reunited our family. But single moms, you know, everywhere I go in California and all across the country, I meet single moms, many of whom are working 2 and 3 part-time jobs. They've had their hours forcibly reduced to 28, 29 hours a week because Obamacare kicks in at 30 hours a week. We need to help the women who are struggling be able to achieve the American dream. That's what I'm going to do as president.
So this morning you told me that when you first jumped into the race, you weren't quite sure if California would be in play, right? We're last.
Yeah.
And now it's going to be one of the most important states. On the primary side, what defines a California Republican and what makes them different than maybe Republicans in other states?
Well, listen, California is going to decide it all, and it's been decades since that was the case. California is the biggest state in the union, has 172 delegates. Actually, California has more Republicans in it than any state in the union, even more than my home state of Texas, I'm chagrined to say. It's just unfortunate.
Well, many of them are moving to Texas, so you're going to...
Well, that's true. Now, unfortunately, you got a whole bunch more Democrats, too, so you're outnumbered on that front. But, you know, California has the opportunity really to decide, do we want to nominate Donald Trump or do we want to nominate Ted Cruz? If Donald Trump is the nominee, Hillary wins, and Hillary wins by double digits. If I'm the nominee, we beat Hillary Clinton. We beat her among young people, we beat her among independents, we're winning swing states. That's how we win. And that's why I think our support in California is so strong on the grassroots. You know, we announced today the support of 50 current and former elected officials here in California, and I believe California is going to decide it all, and I hope the people of California decide to support our campaign.
Look forward to introducing you tonight, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Senator.
Take care.